3 reasons why matchmaking is the most successful way to find a partner. The majority of the people that I know were introduced by someone. That matchmaking is all about criteria. It's a good thing. Hi everyone, welcome back to Date Right for Your Type. I'm Dr. Sandy Toe, and today we're going to be talking about matchmaking. So it's a very, very suitable topic for today because today is Singles Day. Right, so 11/11. In China, we call them bear branches. Right, so the number 1 is signifying a bear branch because, well, as you can see, it doesn't have much surrounding it, right? So it's like bear. So it's used to describe bachelors, right? Single men who aren't married yet and who don't have partners, right? So are wanting to find partners as well, right? So this episode is suitable for both single women and men, right? So matchmaking applies to all. Right. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why matchmaking is the most successful way to find a partner for both women and men. Okay, so you may have heard of matchmaking from the Netflix series Indian Matchmaker and Jewish Matchmaker. And yeah, I wonder why there's no Chinese matchmaker. It'll be hugely successful too, right? So yeah, I would love to watch it or host it. Yeah, amazing. Right. So matchmaking is an age-old practice that's practiced in a lot of ancient communities, such as China and India and the Jewish community, right? It's when it's either a professional matchmaker or your own parents or your own family friends, or someone setting up you and someone based on criteria. So, at the outset, it may sound like quite, it's too pragmatic or it's embarrassing or, why do I have to find someone through matchmaking, right? So I can, is there something wrong with me? I can find one on my own, right? Is it because you don't think I can find someone? That's why you're trying to set me up with these people? Right, so definitely not. Okay, so first of all, we have to get past the mental blockage of matchmaking, of being match made. Because first of all, you should be flattered that someone thought of you because they must have thought that you're amazing and fabulous. And why are you still single because of that? Right? So they must have thought, wow, like you're such a catch that you should be snapped up instantly, right? Like, why are you still there? Right? So waiting for your perfect partner, obviously. And you should be flattered that your friends and relatives have thought of you and wanted to introduce you to someone they know. And it is highly effective because, okay, so let's dive in. The reason number 1 are, okay, reliability. The thing is, if you meet someone on the street, you meet someone at Starbucks or something, you don't know anything about their background. You don't know anything about them, and no one perhaps knows them, and no one can vouch for their character, right? So you would have to probably spend a lot of time doing a character check or, asking around or surfing their social media. And, for all you know, it could be fake, right? So what you see online, there's no one to vouch for it and it may not be true, right? So remember the Tinder Swindler when this guy conned many women of millions of dollars? There was this movie called Good on Paper. Yeah, so it's about a female, it's about a woman stand-up comedian who's quite successful, and she's, I think, reaching her mid-30s, and then she still hasn't found a partner, and she's getting disillusioned, but she's like a really good catch, but she just hasn't met someone because she says she's too strong and men are threatened by her, right? And so she met someone on a plane who appears to be perfect, really good on paper. He said he went to Yale and he's like a hedge fund manager and he earns like a lot of money and he's really chivalrous and treats her like a gem and everything. And they did eventually begin dating, although she had reservations because, well, he was too good to be true. Okay, so and I guess she said that at first she wasn't attracted to his appearance. Okay, so I remember that, but afterwards they did end up getting together, and it was like a fairy tale moment of everything because he started off as her friend and he knew her really well, and he would like really like spend the time to get to know her and talk to her, and he was always there for her and was there to rehearse her scripts with her and everything, so that he was like so attentive and just like the perfect boyfriend until she found out through her friend that he was a fraud. So he didn't go to Yale, and he was not a hedge fund manager, and he didn't earn millions. Like he was just like living with like a bunch of roommates, and he even skipped the rent or something. So he was like dead broke, and he was just pretending to be good on paper to attract women. And then I think he even asked her to pitch in, like paying for some stuff for him as well. So yeah, it didn't end well. Okay. So I guess this lesson is, yeah, reliability is really important at the end of the day, right? So to ask someone who you know well to introduce someone they know well to you just saves all of this heartache and all of this energy and time trying to find out on your own. I'm not saying that you can't meet someone on your own. There are a lot of meet cute situations in the world, right? So, but the thing is, it saves you a lot of time and I guess heartache if you find out that this person is not worthy, right? So or has bad character or something. So you just don't have a lot of time to go find out the character of this person. So why not rely on your nearest and dearest? It can even be your boss or your colleague or your like your gym buddy or someone introducing you. And chances are they will find someone for you that has like a decent character. So whether or not you are a good match or if you're compatible depends on other things as well. But first of all, it's like character. You it's much more reliable than meeting someone on the street. Okay, although having said that, in Sex and the City, Carrie met Big, while she dropped everything, on the road, right? So she just met him at random. She wasn't introduced by anyone, right? And then she kept bumping into him around New York after that encounter. Okay, and also remember, Charlotte also met Trey, her first husband, when she was crossing the street and almost got hit by his cab, right? So, okay, so these are classic meet cute situations. And I remember Serendipity as well, right? The movie. So, a very serendipitous encounter that led to this couple being together at the end, right? So, yeah, I mean, in reality, I'm sure that some people do meet their spouse at random, like not introduced by anyone and no one knows them. They just met them in a bar, which is someone I know. My friend's friend actually met her husband like at clubbing. Okay, so at a club, and it ended up well. And then she got married and had kids and is living the life, right? So, of course, that happens too. We're not ruling out completely meeting someone on your own. At complete random, okay? But the thing is, if you're like very busy and you're like high powered and you have like your career and you don't have a lot of time to go to activities to meet people, you don't have time to go to singles gatherings, it's really actually effective to ask someone to introduce to you, right? Because first of all, these people know your character, they know like what you want, and they know your vibe, right? So, and it'll be much easier if they actually introduced you to someone they know who has that similar vibe. I can say that the majority of the people that I know were introduced by someone, right? So they didn't have the luck of meeting someone on the street or like a random encounter, the meet cute situation that you find in rom-coms. It hasn't actually happened to anyone I know. Okay. Well, we're not counting people who met at work or met at school, right? So we're thinking about people who met someone later in life who didn't have the opportunity or the luxury to meet someone at school, at university, and then, just like got hitched and happily ever after, right? So yeah, we're talking about like people who are very invested in their careers and are really busy day to day and don't have a lot of time and probably missed out the opportunity to meet someone in school or something. And so once you missed out, it's really hard to find someone outside of school, right? So because, university is like the hotbed for meeting your match. Like Princess Kate and Prince William, right? So yeah, they met at university, and they're happily ever after, like a real life, uh, royal sort of happy ending, right? Like a real life princess meeting a prince. Okay, so that's like really sweet, and not one in a million people have that. So after leaving the hotbed of meeting someone, if you haven't been successful in school, then it's another hurdle in real life. It's not every day that you get to meet like similar minded, like minded peers when you get out of school, right? So that brings us to reason number two, which is A, accuracy. Okay, so some people complain that matchmaking is all about criteria, right? But it's a good thing, focusing on your criteria, focusing on what you want, right? So knowing what you want and having a list of criteria, there's nothing wrong with it. But the key is just to be flexible about it. Okay, so I just watched the show, a matchmaking show, and there's a woman who wants a guy who's 6 feet tall, right? So that was her non-negotiable. But in the end, I think she could um interchange that with someone who's maybe 5'10" but has really beautiful eyes. Okay, so yeah, when we're talking about criteria, it can be external criteria. So there was this man who wanted only women with blue eyes, right? So yeah, and in the end, he did get his match. There's many different kinds of criteria. There's external physical criteria. You may want someone who's a certain height, who has a certain color of eyes, who has a certain color of hair, uh, or something, right? And there is also economic criteria. You may want someone who's a breadwinner type. Say if you are a traditionalist or a maximizer type, you may want to find a man who is a traditional breadwinner type who can take care of the family while you are willing to scale back on your work and focus more on the domestic duties. Okay, so if you have traditional values and you're into traditional gender roles, and so this is a type of man that you are looking for, obviously, it is actually more effective if you ask someone to find you someone like that than you going around town trying to meet someone like that yourself. Okay, and if you are a satisficer type, you are very career oriented and you want to find a man who is more laid back and actually doesn't mind uh, him scaling down on work or him taking a part-time job or him taking care of the family matters while you go and develop your career. You don't want to be the type that focuses on domestic duties. So you want to find a man who is more into those things and who is willing to maybe work part-time or even not work or take care of the kids while you go and work, right? So yeah, it'll be really difficult for you to find someone like that on your own, right? So it'll just be like a random chance if he happens to be like that. So it's better to ask someone to specifically introduce someone like that to you rather than you going off and trying to meet someone like that on your own, right? So I myself also met my husband through matchmaking. Our story is more complicated than that because, strictly speaking, we actually met while we were around 13 at a tutorial math class. Okay, so there was like a long table, and it was at the tutor's home, and people from different schools went there, right? So I went to an all-girls school, and he went to an all-boys school, and we were incidentally, in the same class sitting there doing math problems. But the funny thing is, like, I didn't know that like the whole time. I was maybe just too invested in doing math. I never realized that he was there. But he had told his schoolmate that about me, about someone, about my name. So he had told his schoolmate my name, and then he remembered. But back in that day, remember, there were no smartphones, and people like didn't snap pictures of people, so they just like remembered by heart like someone's name, I guess. And uh after 10 years, his schoolmate that's never seen me before but only heard of my name, well, okay, so after 10 years, I went to work with his schoolmate's sister in the same company, and that's when I got to know both of them, right? So, but then he hadn't mentioned anything that he knew me before, knew my name before. And then after another 10 years, after I had graduated with my PhD and came back to work, he actually remembered, and he told his sister randomly that, hey, I know this guy who knows Sandy. And then his sister was like, "Oh, okay, so now you say so. You should totally introduce them." So we all came out and we had dinner, and then I didn't recognize him at all, didn't recognize my husband at all. And he refused to actually say where he had met me before. And by that time I was thinking, is this like a ploy or something? So, but yeah, we and then later we went out again just by ourselves and, got to know each other and stuff. And then he still hadn't really told me, and I didn't think to ask, but it just, went smoothly, the courtship, and then yeah, we got married later, and then it was like on our wedding that he told me exactly where he had met me before. So yeah, that was a serendipitous encounter, and that's really quite divine, isn't it? Except I would also categorize this as matchmaking too by his friends and my friends. Okay, so because without them, without their intervention, I would have we wouldn't have met each other again, right? If his friend had never talked about that, of talked about introducing us. So I would totally categorize my meeting my husband as matchmaking. Yeah, through matchmaking. Right. So, hence, I think it is actually really effective because all of my friends were met by introductions. So there was another friend of ours who met by introduction. So there was a girl who said she's gonna bring her colleague, her female colleague to the date, right? So it's like a double blind date. Okay, so a double blind date where a, the girl was bringing her girl colleague, and her friend, which is a guy, is bringing one of his friends, right? So to see if they hit it off. And in the end, the guy really hit off with the girl's female colleague. Okay. And they got married and have kids today and are really happy. So, that goes to show that, yeah, it works out, this matchmaking thing. It's too bad that the girl did not find a match with her guy friend's buddy, or else it would be so great. They should just throw their wedding together, right? So the double blind date that materialized, like, that worked out. Okay, so yeah, like, one of the couples worked out, and that was great too. And sometimes we do that too, we see some single person that we know, it's either a girl or a guy who's like really fabulous, and we're like, wow, like they're such a good catch. They have to find someone. We must find someone for them. And a few years back, actually, we did that too. Like me, when I was like heavily pregnant, I remember my friends said that, okay, I have this guy that's really great and he wants to meet someone. Do you have anyone on your hands? And I said, and me and my husband discussed, and then my husband said, "Yeah, I actually do have a single girl friend, who's has similar vibes. Again, we're thinking about similar vibes and similar backgrounds as well. So similar professional backgrounds. They're both professionals in their capacity." And they're similar age and similar height, like we even think about that. And we even sort of like dissected their photos and see if they have that look about them. Sometimes people they match also according to the look, the feel, the vibe. You can ask like the professional matchmakers out there. So yeah, I was like I watched Jewish Matchmaker, and yeah, and Aliza, like she would also think about like the vibe she's getting from the photos of the candidates, right? So I think they have it in them. It's like instilled in them. They have this instinct if this couple would be a good match, because some people they have like really disparate demeanors, right? So yeah, I would not like match someone who's probably the girl is 5'9" with a guy who's like not so tall and is not so like well built, while the girl is very statuesque. It doesn't seem like a good match at the outset sometimes, or they're not giving me that feeling, that vibe. Right. So now let's channel, I was me and my husband and my friend were channeling our matchmaker energies. So we brought this couple together, the girl and the guy. We had like dinner together, like very naturally, right? So and as a group. And yeah, they had good conversation. The conversation flowed really well and stuff. Yeah, and but at the end it didn't work out. Like they didn't pursue it, and they just didn't keep contact. I think they messaged, but they didn't develop into a relationship. But now like the guy is married happily and the girl is also happily married and had a kid recently. So yeah, that's fine as well if it doesn't work out. But at least it was like a well-meaning endeavor, and it was like dependable, reliable, and it wasn't like um it was someone with good character. So at least it was a well-meaning endeavor, and there were no character issues, and so be it if they didn't work out, but they worked out with other people in the end, and that's okay too. So yeah, I was thinking like these well-meaning matches can be done by your nearest and dearest, like people who know you really well, or at least know like the feeling of you, and with you giving them more accurate details, more accurate criteria of what you want will increase the success rate. So as I was saying, economic criteria or physical criteria, and for me, it's very idiosyncratic astrological criteria. Okay, so I must admit, even before I met my husband through my friend's matchmaking, so even before they asked us to come out, I had specified one criteria, and that he has to be Cancerian. Yeah, because well, I'm Virgo, and I just know by experience and by my astrological knowledge, yeah, years of that, I would assume that I'm like quite an amateur sort of astrologer. For I don't, and I do birth chart readings for people as well. So like I know that this is the perfect fit for me astrologically, in terms of personality traits and everything. But of course you have to compare the whole birth chart, and afterwards I did. Trust me, I did. I asked about his well, after I got to know him, after we began dating. Okay, so truth be told, it wasn't during the courtship that I was like freakily asking like where and when he was his birth, so I can calculate his ascendant and his moon sign. But hey, you know what? Afterwards, I did calculate. I did our birth chart compatibility readings, and he was really compatible with me. And I could have actually felt it in our conversation and during our whole courtship, how good we were together and how compatible we were together in terms of personality, character, and everything, that I can sense that we had a compatible birth chart. But anyway, so yes, my non-negotiable was that he had to be a certain sign because, through experience, I know that I don't match well with, like, say, a fire sign or an air sign because I am, an earth sign, so I match well with water sign and earth sign. So yeah, and he happened to be my number one favorite, which is a Cancer. Okay, so Cancer men is like my Virgo perfect match. So yeah, I had my criteria at hand too. So I asked friends to introduce, like, for the reliability factor, he had to have good character, good upbringing, family background. Those things have already been in check. And then there's the criteria, right? So the accuracy was that he had to be Cancerian. Okay, so that fit all my criteria, and then we met and we hit it off, and it's great. The rest is history. So yeah, it would be so great if everyone had that chance. Okay, so like speaking of which, we'll talk about the third reason why matchmaking is so successful, and it is the letter E, exclusivity. Okay, so this was inspired by a woman that's highly intelligent, highly successful that I had interviewed before, and she told me that finding a partner is like finding a job. Okay, because you don't go out and you look for just any job. You don't uh go out and send your resume or your CV to everything and everyone. Okay, so you're very specific and you hire a headhunter to do it for you because you are already of a certain status and you've already achieved something. Okay, so for all of us, like, if we've waited later in life to find a partner, so it's either that we've had a certain amount of education or we have developed a certain reputation in our community, in our company, and we just don't go about like searching for anything, right? So we have to find someone who does actually fit a certain criteria of ours, who fit our backgrounds. It is actually the matter of being more exclusive. Okay, so being more exclusive in your search for a partner. Did you know that Lady Gaga was introduced to her fiance by her own mom? Yeah, so this news really hit me because being someone of a certain status like Lady Gaga, of course she's not just going to go out and find someone on her own, right? So first of all, I guess there's the bodyguards. Okay, so that really prevents you from going into Starbucks on your own and trying to meet someone there. Okay, so obviously, okay, so for people who don't have bodyguards but is of a certain status already or has achieved something, you're more wary of other people's motives, aren't you? Even though we're not Lady Gaga and we don't have bodyguards, but still, it's like the woman that I had interviewed. She said that she's not just going to find someone, but she's going to find someone who knows accomplished men to introduce to her, right? Because she is a maximizer and she's very proactive in trying to find someone, right? She's gone to matchmaking 10 times. Finding a partner is like finding a job because if you don't tell someone you're looking for a job, they'll think that you're not unemployed, right? So of course, people on the first go, they would not assume that you're jobless if you don't tell them you're looking for a job, right? So it's very normal for us to assume that people are doing well if they don't say otherwise, right? So we think we want the best for people and we don't think negative. So if people don't come for us for for help, or if people come for us for advice, we won't give it. Right? So it's like infringing on other people's privacy and their private lives, or assuming the worst for other people when they're actually doing well. So that doesn't make sense. So remember, if you are really keen on finding someone, then you must spread the word. Like, don't feel embarrassed about it, because come on, like, if you're not gonna do that, then it really deprives you of the chance. Remember the R.A.E, right? Reliability, accuracy, and exclusivity. So that is what matchmaking can bring you. Okay, so to increase your success rate of finding a partner. So hey, what are you waiting for? For the Singles Day next year, I hope that you will not be single anymore. So thank you so much for being here. Remember to go on Instagram if you want to continue the conversation and the fun stuff. And have a great day, and I'll see you again next week.